What is Behaviour-Driven Development, BDD, and how can we use it to improve the quality of our Microsoft business applications? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Hi, my name is Neil Benson. Welcome to the Customer Academy. The best way to learn about behaviour-driven development is with an example. Here's one for logging in to Power Apps. Given the user has access to the environment and has a security role, and the environment is not in admin mode, and when the user is using a supported browser, when the user visits the application's URL, then the application's default page should load in the user's browser. One of the features of a behavioral test is that the test is written in business English. The test could have been written, or at least understood, by one of your application's users. You might have also noticed that the test has three parts. These are referred to as the context, event, and outcome, or also known as given, when, then. The context is the set of conditions that exist at the start of the test. The event is the action that the user takes. The outcome is the expected result. It describes the behavior of the application when the event happens. I ride a motorbike to my clients' offices. Here's a behavioral test for starting my motorbike. Given the battery is charged, there is fuel in the tank, the security fob is near the bike, the ignition switch is on, the engine stop switch is off, the brake lever is pulled, and the side stand is raised. When the starter button is pushed for 2 seconds, the motorbike engine starts and idles at 1,000 revs. Behavioral tests describe the expected behavior of your application in a very direct way. The set of behavioral tests available describes the expected behavior of the application and forms a contract between the application's makers and users about what the application should do. If all the tests pass, then the application is behaving as expected. If any of the tests fail, then there is an issue that the maker needs to resolve. We can write behavioral tests for an application at any time. You could write them before starting development of the feature. The behavioral test is the acceptance criteria for your requirement. For the user story, if you're using user stories to capture the essence of your requirements. This is behavioral-driven development because the behavioral tests inform the application's developers what's expected so that they know when the feature is done. All the behavioral tests will fail until the feature is complete. When they pass, then the feature is done. Developers love to know when they're done. So a benefit of behavioral testing is that the developers can stop development and review the feature with the product owner as soon as the test passes. The temptation to embellish the feature with extra bells and whistles is diminished, so developers become more focused and efficient. You can also write behavioral tests during development, although this can become tricky if the behavioral tests are much more challenging than the developers assumed when they estimated the requirement's complexity. You can also write behavioral tests for an existing application after development has been completed, which can be useful for running regression tests during an upgrade or migration. Contrast this with unit tests, which are much harder to write for an existing application. The plain business language of the tests means that they can be written by your product owner, your application's users, or a business analyst without a lot of specialist training. Professional testers and quality analysts can easily write full-blown test cases from behavioral tests, and automation testers use a behavioral test as an input for developing their automated tests. Behavioral testing has two drawbacks that are worth keeping in mind. Running behavioral tests is very slow. Once they pass, then the test can be automated, but until then it must be run manually. And behavioral tests rarely reveal the root cause of an issue in the same way that a unit test does. If my motorbike doesn't start, I have to check 7 preconditions and that I was taking the correct action in order to get the expected result. Troubleshooting what went wrong can be slow. I hope you found that overview of behaviour-driven development useful. Please remember to subscribe and you won't miss any more tips about building agile, amazing Microsoft business applications. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments down below and I'll do my best to answer them. Keep sprinting. Bye for now.